LSU 31, Mississippi State 16. Massive kudos due to Matt House. That's the defensive coordinator down at LSU. Massive kudos. Now that this game's over, I can give you a little nugget. I was talking to some, shall we say, scouting types, to keep it generic, some scouting types. That could be anything. And this was a month ago. This was before LSU even opened the season. This was during fall camp. And those scouting types, plural there, kids, plural, they said to me, circle that week 3 game, Mississippi State at LSU. And I said, why, Mr. and Mrs. Scouting types? And they said, we don't think LSU's defensive backs can match up. We think it's a total mismatch. We think they're going to get exposed. We think that they lost some really good players and they replaced them with average to good players. And if we're right, then Mike Leach will shred them. And the game happened last night. And Mississippi State had 214 yards through the air. And they put 16 on the board. And LSU closed with a 31-3 run to win this game. I do not want to overlook how impressive that is. This was a game they needed, obviously. Can't be falling to 1 and 2 down there. This was a game they could have been vulnerable in, and they weren't. They weren't. Now, they didn't start fast offensively, but defense, Matt House and crew, they gave them time, and when they clicked, when Jaden Daniels and that offense clicked, they really clicked. It kept them in position. So if you told me, here's another thing to keep in mind. For those of you who didn't watch the game, it seems like every punt return and every kickoff return, Mississippi State got out to midfield. So they had great starting average field position, and they still couldn't dent the scoreboard more than a couple of times. So this is a way to win this game that a lot of people did not think would be in the cards. A lot of people thought LSU would just flat out have to outscore them, and that's not the way it went down. So hats off to LSU's defense. Secondly, given the spot and given the circumstances, I think we may have seen the best football we've ever seen Jaden Daniels play, and that includes his time at Arizona State. He was good last night. He was 22 of 37, threw for 210, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He ran for another 93 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. We had 2 touchdowns total. So he played not flawless, but within context and within reason. He played about as well as you ever could have expected him to play, especially this early in the year. It still should be a feeling out process, and in some ways it is. But man, he was very good last night. And it goes back to the message board culture, goes back to the Twitter culture. Every time LSU loses a game this year, you're going to be told Brian Kelly's not a good fit. And every time LSU wins a game the next week, the same folks who told you that are going to flip-flop on him. And it's the whole honey versus water analogy. Move at the speed of honey. Do not let your opinion on year 1 head coaches react at the speed of water. Because water, just turn the plate this way, falls off. Turn the plate that way, falls off. Move at the speed of honey. Sometimes guys aren't good fits, but you don't find out over the span of 1 week. So you turn that plate sideways and let that little drop of honey slowly creep down. And if LSU looks like they did against Florida State 10 times, well, then you know you got a problem. But they didn't. And now I look at their schedule, and they go to Auburn in a couple of weeks, and they got Tennessee, they got Florida, Ole Miss, Alabama. It doesn't get easier. But this is a team with good talent. Not great, but pretty good talent. And they've still got a very high ceiling this year. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure to leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.